The revolution for sound money continues with big news out of Alabama. Let's talk about what's going on there and the catch that is associated with it as well. That is a little bit concerning. Let's explore. Gold and silver, they remain true to what they have been for thousands of years, no matter what legislation passes. But nonetheless, it's always good when we see states like Alabama begin to recognize gold and silver as legal tender, as money. And that's exactly what they have been for thousands of years. And even before then, thousands of years before that, gold and silver have been things of beauty and of great value, and recognizing status among societies and cultures. But we can buy gold and silver, and I encourage you to only do so based off of your own budget and your own understanding of the metals. One place I'm encouraging my viewers to go to is Summit Metals, and not just because they're a channel sponsor, but because they indeed have some very good prices. In fact, I just made another purchase with them recently, and I can't wait to show you what I got when it comes in the mail. But they have very competitive prices, great service, and very accessible, by the way. You can email them and contact and reach out to them, and you never know. One of the owners very well may answer the phone. So check out summitmetals.com. Now on with this news, because I think this is so important. The Alabama Senate, just a couple days ago, unanimously passed a bill to recognize gold and silver as legal tender. If enacted, it would set the stage for the people to undermine the Federal Reserve monopoly by introducing competition into the monetary system. And that is really what we need right now. It is the ultimate middle finger to the Federal Reserve when states are doing this. And I've been reporting on this for several years now. I've been the most consistent precious metal channel or YouTube channel anywhere to report on news like this. And if you like news like this, consistent, hard-hitting news about precious metals and analysis, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, and press that thumbs up button. It does help. And if you do subscribe, even if you are subscribed, make sure to hit that notification bell so that you can be apprised of the latest news when it comes its way through your device. Now, here is where the catch lies. Senator Tim Melson filed Senate Bill 130 under the Alabama Legal Tender Act. And it says, any refined gold or silver bullion, specie, or coin that has been stamped, marked, or imprinted with its weight and purity will be recognized as legal tender in that state. Now, that is a little concerning because there's a lot of gold and silver that's not marked, but it definitely is silver and gold, by the way, too. I'm going to show you a piece right now. However, I will say that if I was to take this into an Alabama merchant, they would understandably say, well, I don't know what that is. It looks like a poured piece of metal. It could be anything, especially to the unassuming. They would really have no idea what this is. So I certainly would understand why they would refuse this, because it's not marked. This is something that I poured myself, and there's no stampings on it. Nothing to tell you that this is silver. So that's understandable, and I understand the motivation for putting that there. However, though, things like this, and I always show these coins when I do my videos about states recognizing gold and silver as legal tender, well, because the Constitution already does. This is why none of these states have been challenged by the federal government, because no one has repealed Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution yet. We'll get into that in a moment. But these coins are gold and silver, and you'll notice that on this St. Gaun's $20 gold double eagle, there is nothing on here that says that it's gold. Nothing whatsoever. It just says United States of America, Liberty, the denomination, and the year of issue. Same thing with this silver $50, Walking Liberty $50. But these are very recognizable, no question about that. However, they are not marked. So essentially, old U.S. coinage, constitutional silver or pre-33 gold, would essentially be exempt if that's the language and there's no exceptions for this. Anyways, the article continues, the passage of SB 130 would make Alabama the 6th state to recognize gold and silver as legal tender, as they always should have been doing. Utah led the way, establishing constitutional money back in 2011. Wyoming, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana have since joined. But here is the good news here. On March the 4th, the Senate passed SB 130 by a 31-0 vote. Unanimous. That's awesome. That's great. Now, beyond the provisions to make gold and silver legal tender, SB 130 includes language recognizing gold and silver contract clauses. No person shall be required to offer or accept any recognized legal tender except as specifically provided by contract, or otherwise required by law. In practice, including language acknowledging a gold contract clause means if parties voluntarily agree to be paid or to pay in gold and silver coin or bullion, Alabama FIDA courts could not substitute any other thing, such as Federal Reserve notes, as payment. That really does solidify the idea of what gold and silver are as a form of payment under contract. These would essentially be null and void, but this would be void. What would have to be paid and for these contracts? That gives even more power and teeth to this legislation. The principle behind the gold clause contract is simple. It requires that payment must be made in a specific amount of gold or its paper equivalent. For example, a mortgage might stipulate that repayment must be in the form of 30 ounces of gold. Gold clauses protect the parties to a contract from currency debasements and incentives to incentivize the use of sound money. But I'm telling you, I don't know about you, but I would love to find a house that only costs 30 ounces of gold, even at near $3,000 an ounce. Nonetheless, the passage of SB 130 would represent another step against the fiat-based Federal Reserve System by creating a foundation to pull the rug out from under it on the state and local levels. Indeed, it would. Alabama recently repealed both its sales tax and capital gains tax on gold and silver. Likely I reported on that as well. Done so many videos about what's happening in these states, it's hard to keep track of them all. I probably should set up a playlist for them. The passage of SB 130 would take another step, further opening the door for residents to use gold or silver as money rather than as mere investment vehicles. And by the way, before I forget, I want to recognize Cowboys06 sent me this information about this first, originally from a local news source, and I think that's wonderful and pretty amazing that this is making news and local news is covering it as well, because it's a very important thing for sure. In essence, it would set the stage for the people themselves to undermine the Federal Reserve by introducing competition, as we know. The next step would be for the people to start taking advantage of the status of gold and silver as money by using both as such instead of Federal Reserve notes. And of course, we know about the gold back as one way and aspect to do that. The gold back, and what the magic of the gold back is that it trades based off the exchange rate, and you can purchase these based off the exchange rate. But the magic of it is using it between entities that will recognize it and recognize that exchange rate. Otherwise, it's just a nice collectible RM note with a very high premium. So the effect has been the most dramatic in Utah, as we've talked about, since that's the first state to do it, so it's pretty well entrenched in there. And so Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution says that no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender of payment of debts. And all debts and taxes in most states are either paid with Federal Reserve notes or dollars, which were authorized as legal tender by Congress, or with coins issued by the U.S. Treasury, very few of which have gold and silver in them. And the ones that do have gold and silver in them, if you were to pay your taxes with one of these, for instance, it says $50 on it. The government would be getting quite a bargain, wouldn't they? You would not trade this in for $50. No, that's for sure. And that's part of the money supply, right? The M2 money supply marked at $50. It's ironic that the Federal Reserve or the U.S. Treasury values gold at $42.22 an ounce. And so, what's next for this bill, for SB 130? It will now move to the House for further consideration. It was referred to the House Financial Services Committee, where it must get a hearing and passed by a majority vote before moving forward in the legislative process. So it has some steps to go, but the very fact that it was unanimous is a very powerful message that will be sent to the House. And hopefully the governor will sign it into law, and it will be the sixth state. There's other states that are making this move as well. If this thing moves quick enough, then they will be the first to get to number 6. But fascinating indeed. Stories like this and news like this is so important because it gives a little bit more leeway for states to really circumvent the Federal Reserve and the manipulation of our dollar and our monetary system and our money itself. So therefore, it's wise to do. But even if this thing falls flat on its face and fails and there's no further movement in the revolution for sound money by the states, you and I can participate by holding gold and silver. Notice I say holding rather than buying, because yes, buying it is good, but it really matters not much if you buy it, if you just sell it within a couple of days or months or even a year. The power is in holding the metals, holding it to realize their true value, which is a hedge against inflation, economic instability, and holding money, sound money, outside of the very system from which we find ourselves apart. That's extremely powerful, folks, and I believe in the power of gold and silver. I hope you do as well. So there you have it. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.